It is a big day for the Republic of Ireland football because you've got the under-21s in action at 4:30, and of course the seniors in action at 7:45 tonight against Ukraine. It is against Italy at 4:30 in Ascoli that the under-21s have qualification on the line. Phil Egan is with us in studio. Phil, how are you getting on?
Very well, yeah, looking forward to a big day for Irish football. I also have the European draws coming up at 11.
That's right.
Shamrock Rovers and Derry are in there as well, and Sligo Pats will be tomorrow. But yeah, like the prize on offer for the 21s is huge. And you think back to when they lost to Italy earlier in the campaign, they'd obviously been beaten in Montenegro, they'd dropped points in Luxembourg, and it didn't look great. But that injury time winner that Ollie O'Neill scored against Sweden, like, who knew at the time that it was such a big goal? It was celebrated, obviously, because when you score an injury time, it's always a big deal, an injury time winner. But how crucial it turned out to be. And then off the back of that, we went to Sweden and won, and have got ourselves right back into it. And here we are with a chance to qualify for a first ever under-21 tournament. And even if we don't get the job done today, you know, there is the playoff to fall back onto. So a nice position to be into for Jim Crawford.
It feels that like it's probably just a form thing and a momentum thing, but it feels like the gap between these sides, between Ireland and Italy, is much smaller than the time it was at Tala.
Yeah, and it was an interesting interview Tyreek Wright did after the game the other night, where he basically was like, yeah, we can't wait for this. And that's what you want to hear from young players, that they're going to relish the challenge. Now, I'm not saying that Ireland have to go out with need to win the game from the off, because you can't win a game in the first 20 minutes. You can certainly lose it. And I actually mentioned the Montenegro game. That's a game that we lost in the first 10 minutes, where they conceded twice inside the opening 10 minutes and never recovered, pulled the goal back, but it was done. So I think it'll definitely be a day for patience. And don't forget as well, Italy had their chance to qualify against Sweden and they blew it. I know they did us a favour by taking Sweden out of the equation, but the longer the game goes on, maybe the more twitchy Italy get, where we know that any win will do. Obviously, they only need a draw, but they could find themselves in a position at the end of the game going, we had two chances to qualify automatically and we've blown them. So I think it'll definitely be a fairly cautious approach, and then let's see how it goes. I mean, say if Italy were to score, then obviously that changes how we have to go about it. But don't concede an early goal is what I'm imploring the team not to do.
It's kind of been spoken about so much, just the unbelievable array of talent that they don't even have at their disposal during this campaign. I guess the flip side of that is the talent that they do have, and I mean, maybe if they don't qualify for the championships, this isn't even a conversation, but if they do, you'd like to think that maybe the likes of Evan Ferguson and Will Smallbone stay in the squad for a little while longer, and actually playing in a big tournament could be better than the senior call-up that seems imminent for both of those men. Yeah,
and I wonder as well, some of the players that are currently away with Stephen Kenny's squad that are eligible to play, would Stephen Kenny and Jim Crawford have a sit down and think, do you know what, a tournament would be exactly what this player needs? Now, I'm trying not to get ahead of ourselves, because going to Italy and winning is a very tough task. So if it doesn't happen today, then it depends on who Ireland get in the playoffs. But you mentioned the form, the fact that they've won 4 games in a row, that they definitely will be confident that they can get the required result today. But I think what we've seen, and obviously when Stephen Kenny was in charge of the under-21 team, there was a real buzz about the team, because we saw some of the players. You think, obviously Sweden were in the last campaign as well, and we went away there and we put in an unbelievable performance. But we have also seen, as good as the talent that we have coming through, and we have good young players in our senior squad, how hard it is to transition from under-21 level to senior level. And it's more a case of what's happening at club level for these players. You think of that really exciting Stephen Kenny under-21 team. We've Troy Parrott, Adam Mead, Aaron Connolly. Those 3 players now, look at what has happened since they made the step up to the senior squad. Connolly's had to get a move away, a loan move. Obviously Troy Parrott's had a couple of loan moves. And Adam Mead, just as it looked like he was starting to get a foothold in the Norwich team in the Premier League, he picked up that unfortunate injury. But that's how difficult it is. All these talented young players we have, can they get the sufficient game time at the highest level, at club level? At the moment, it suggests the answer would be no. So it's a tough one, and you kind of see it spills into the senior team. You look at the players that we have playing tonight in Ukraine against Ukraine, that players are playing League One, Championship. Some of them aren't even getting into their team, and that's why it can be very hard to pull out consistent performances.
Yeah, I feel the timing of that needs to be right, going from the 21s up to the senior squad. And it's a question that's been asked to Stephen Kenny in quite a few of the press conferences that I've been at, especially about Will Smallbone. If he's going to feature, will he be called up? And he didn't say no. He just said, we'll see how he gets on against the Italy team. How he goes against that, and then we'll see from there. So it wasn't a straight out no. There's definitely a maybe in there. But yeah, I'm not sure. Is that what's right for him?
Well, see, Will Smallbone was getting some first team football with Southampton in the Premier League now, albeit he likes to play in a more central role. He was being played out on the right hand side under Ralph Hasenhüttl, but then he picked up that knee injury, so he is only just coming back. But yeah, it is. Everyone just assumed when Stephen Kenny took over the senior job that he could just bring all these young players with him, but it's just not that easy. Like, you have to have a certain aspect to your game to be able to cope at senior level in international football, and it wasn't a case that Stephen Kenny could just say to some of the more senior pros that, thanks very much, good luck, and now I've got a young crop coming through, I'm just going to use them. Because look who's going to captain the team tonight. It's going to be James McLean. Players like this, Shane Duffy, Seamus Coleman, these have all been important players to help the young players come through. So it's it's such a challenge to know when is the right time to put players in. In previous campaigns under previous managers, we had more established senior players playing at a higher level that you could just bring in one or two young players, and they'd have so much experience around them that they'd be able to bed in a bit more comfortably. Whereas now, you're going to see it even tonight. We're going to have to make changes. Stephen Kenny's going to have to make a raft of changes. He made 5 on Saturday for the Scotland game, but actually all 5 proved to be masterstrokes in terms of who scored goals, who set up goals, who performed well, and he's going to have to do more of the same tonight. And that's the challenge. And I said, some players, you can see, like young players, the talent is there, but you don't always get the consistency.
So Kenny's been talking about 2 systems in the build-up to this game this week. Do you expect a reversion to the other system that we didn't see on Saturday tonight?
Yeah, I think his hand will be forced in certain aspects of it. He's obviously going to stick with 3. Now, Nathan Collins has done so well. He's been one of the real bright sparks of this 10-day period where, you look at the first 2 games where there was such disappointment after losing in Armenia and losing to Ukraine, but Nathan Collins was a positive, and he performed well again on Saturday. Then there's talk of Darrell Lenihan coming in. I wonder, would he contemplate maybe playing Ryan Manning or Enda Stevens as part of a back 3? Because James McLean is going to play as the left wing back, so does he play a left-sided player on the left-hand side of that back 3? Then what does he do at right wing back? Alan Brown obviously scored. I wonder, would he be tempted maybe to play Ogbene as a right wing back? The midfield, can Josh Cullen play 4 games in 10 days? It's a hell of an ask. I think he's so crucial for that role that he plays, where he's the one that gets things going. If he's not there, do you put Malumbi in there? Has Jason Knight going to play in that role again? Jeff Hendrick was obviously left out for the game against Scotland. He came on. Conor Howrahan came on. I'm not sure I'm keen on the thoughts of, say, like a Malumbi and Howrahan, Hendrick midfield trio. I think when Ireland are at their best under Stephen Kenny, we have to play with energy, and that midfield wouldn't have as much energy in it for my liking.
Yeah, that's really, do you see in a situation like this, and I mean the situation being that you've got a threadbare defence, that Kenny will eventually go back to a back 4 in case of emergency, and maybe even more than that as an actual method of getting a foothold in certain games?
Possibly, and he talked about it in the build-up, how you have to be able to adapt, but the 2 systems he mentioned both require a back 3, and Ukraine could go with a back 3 tonight. They differ as well. Sometimes they go 3-4-3.
They're missing a lot of players as well.
And look, a lot was made of the team they played last week, where it was labelled the Ukraine B team. But looking at that team, so they had 4 Kiev players, Dynamo Kiev players who played in the Champions League. I was going to say this season, but it's now last season. A Dynamo Kiev team that were in the group stage with Benfica and Bayern and Barcelona. Jankov, who came on and scored the goal, albeit it was quite a fortunate goal, he was part of that Dynamo team. Then you've got players from Shakhtar, you have a Real Madrid goalkeeper. The only players in their starting 11 last week that didn't play European football last season was an Everton player. But he'd obviously come from Kiev, Mikolenko, and then a player from Dnipro. So all those players have experience of playing European football. We don't have that. Matt Doherty played Conference League. We don't have players that play European football, which is key. Obviously, it can be more similar to international football in terms of the way it's played. It's not like Premier League or Championship or League One. So whatever team Ukraine put out tonight, they're still going to be better than us. And Stephen Kenny is obviously getting hammered for what he said at the start of the campaign. It was like, we've got to be looking to win the group. He also did say, I could be realistic and say we're probably the 3rd best team in the group behind Ukraine and Scotland, but he aimed high, and he seems to be getting punished for aiming too high now. But realistically, I think if a positive result tonight is avoiding defeat, in my eyes anyway.
And from an Irish perspective, that Obafemi, we're not sure. He's definitely not playing. Yeah, so obviously the energy that he brought, the freshness, he was just so enjoyable to watch, and he was just incredible. So we would have liked to seen him being able to get 2 consecutive performances, and just what he offered. Big
time. And obviously all the talk was about the goal, but I was more impressed with the assist for Parrott, because that's something we hadn't really seen with his game, and he's getting his regular game time with Swansea. His confidence is up. So if he's not playing tonight, then Stephen Kenny's got a problem. But he doesn't have a player that can do what Obafemi did on Saturday, where he could drop deep and pick a pass, and also has the hold-up play back to goal, and then the ability to smash one in from outside the box. Does he go to someone like Scott Hogan? There's a lot to be said for having a specialised striker who's comfortable dropping back to goal, lay it off, and then getting back into the box. That is not Ogbene's game. Ogbene is all about running at you. He doesn't want to be playing with his back to goal. Troy Parrott doesn't necessarily want to be playing with his back to goal. So that's where it'll be interesting to see what team he goes with. But it would be a shame if Obafemi isn't playing. It sounded like he's not going to play, but we were doing our bulletins before the game on Saturday and basically saying John Egan isn't playing. So you can imagine my surprise when I saw the team sheet come out on Saturday. I was like, okay, I've just been telling everyone a lie for the last 24 hours. Apologies for that.
The baby is definitely due now at this point. I think we're not going to get stung twice over that one. I like your shout on Ogbene at right wing back, actually. That could be something that we see over the next little while.
Maybe we get to see Abasele as well.